Good morning, everyone. So, welcome to today's Hindu newspapers Delhi edition. So, first of all, we have the Speaker of the US Congress lands in Taiwan despite China's opposition. Okay, so that was expected. China will slam USA. Okay, so Al Qaeda chief was killed 2 days back. He was killed in the US strike. So in Kabul, so he was found over there. He was the person who perpetrated the 9/11 attacks on the US. So the Twin Tower attack that was done, it was planned by him. Okay, now subsequently we have some editorials. So we have an editorial on him, and besides we have an article in the main newspaper that is central agencies are seeing that what would be the repercussions or implications of his death on the terrorist movements that are there in the country. So that we'll see later. Okay, rupee is not collapsing, says finance minister. So finance minister is saying yes, fine, rupee is depreciating vis-a-vis dollar. So value, we know that it was 70 rupees and now it is 80 rupees against $1. So rupees, value of rupees depreciating. But it is much better. The performance is much better as compared to its peers. So I mean the peers is not established, but I mean it should be Pakistan, Sri Lanka, those countries over here. Corresponding countries, middle income countries. And it is also said that rupee is not depreciating at the same rate as compared to other important currencies like euro, dollar, euro, pound, etc. Okay, landslide. So landslide is there in the news. It's there in Kerala, right? So naturally, with landslide comes the issue of what are the factors that lead to the landslide. Why are landslides comparison on the Western Ghats and the Himalayas? So that again one question is there. Besides, what mitigation measures should be taken? So that would be GS3. Overall, when a question is asked as to why the landslides are taking place, what are the reasons responsible, or comparison between Western Ghats and the Himalayas. So that is basically talking about a geographical phenomena. So that will be asked in GS1. Disaster management GS3, GS1 is geography. It is not my money, says ex-Bengal minister said. Earlier it was the ex-Bengal minister who said it is not my money. Right? So the money was nevertheless in her house, in her flats. Okay. So let's see. I mean, yeah, not really very important right now. Third monkeypox case reported in the capital. City news. Okay, giving cities underprivileged youth a shot at life. So what is the government doing for the vulnerable sections? GS2. So for that, giving cities underprivileged youth a shot at life. So what is happening is that the city of Delhi, there are a lot of people who have dropped out of the school who are not privileged. So for that reason, they are dropped out. So to upskill them, to train them, the government and this NGO, this not-for-profit organization, DSEU Lighthouse, they are collaborating on upskilling of the youth. So this they are doing. Okay, so we have one thing about, I think, vocational training, skill development. So that is there, what the government can do for the underprivileged, for those who are school dropped out, so that they can be skilled and they can get better quality of jobs. And that would translate into a better life. Right, so this is one thing. I mean, we get for underprivileged, I mean, skill development and the role of the state and non-state actors. So this is a non-state actor. This is the state, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister, the state. So role of the non-state actors in the development processes. This is again part of your syllabus. Okay, so state news now. So moving forward, this news wasn't important. So going ahead with this. Rain batters Kerala, toll hits 12. So monsoon related floods are taking place, same old thing, what all things should be done, etc. This is important. CAG pulls up Odisha for missing targets. What targets? So targets with reference to the plantation activities. Right, states are required to undergo plantation activities. These are typically under two schemes. One is the Green India Mission, right, making India green, increasing the forest cover of that particular region. Then where forest is already there, improving the quality of forest, so maintaining that forest. So Green India Mission. And besides this, if a forest land has been diverted for any other activity, maybe for creation of housing or maybe for mining activities, whatever. So in that case, compensatory afforestation has to be done, right? Compensatory afforestation. So the CAG was auditing. CAG is the auditor of the government. So it was auditing the government on what are they doing with reference to the plantation activities. These are these two schemes over here. CAMPA and Green India Mission, compensatory afforestation and Green India Mission. These schemes are not mentioned, just compensatory. So they were auditing and they have found shortcomings with the performance of Odisha. And they say that even in those areas, fine, there are some areas where, because of the forest density, tribal population, it may not be very easy to do plantation drives. But even in accessible areas, the plantation activities have not been done. So the CAG has pulled up Odisha, right? So they have given adverse remarks to Odisha for this. Now I want to bring your attention to a question that was asked in 15, I think 2015, 15 or 16. It was about CAG. So CAG is basically the auditor. It looks what is the government doing. So much money has been sanctioned, and then it sees what is the end result. Has that work been done or not? So it is auditing. So it is auditing the financial accounts. Okay. But sometimes, now in this case, it has not happened, but sometimes the CAG will also go into the policy aspect. You should have done this policy, you should have done that. So they go into that aspect also. So UPSC had asked this question, right? So it was about the role of the CAG. Okay, so we'll do that later, right? Just wanted to give you an idea. We can pick up these themes. Death of a face. So who's the face? Face of Al Qaeda. And then making sense of the freebies issue. I want to do this before freebies issue before. Right. So two things, two events. One is obviously Prime Minister Modi said that this freebie culture is not good. He mentioned to this term revenue culture, giving you revenues and you're giving them vote opposition. And then there was a petition filed at the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court or Delhi High Court. So they again asked the government to look into the issue of irrational promises, irrational freebies that are being offered by the political parties. Like if you vote for us, we will give you free electricity, we will give you free ration. So those are freebies. So naturally, these two things have taken place. So let's look at this thing, as the author says, making sense of the freebies. So yes, so we have political parties, right? Political parties, be it them be in power or let them be in the opposition. Either ways, to get vote, they may say that we will do this for you, we will do that for you, we will give you free rations, we will give you free electricity, we will give you money in your bank accounts, something or the other. So let's call them as freebies. So freebies would be given to them. So without doing any work, they'll get some money. Okay. So freebies would be given. So end of the day, when the political parties, when they come to government, they say the people that we will give you this benefits. So it's expected that the people's vote will be influenced. So that seems to be a bit unethical. Okay, so that is one thing. Now, besides, The political party says we will give you this, we will give you that, but it also has to factor in from where will the resources be generated to give these freebies. Naturally, if you're giving rations at 1 rupee, 2 rupees per kilo, but market price is 50 rupees, 20 rupees per kg of potato, tomatoes, whatever. So it's at a much higher price. So obviously the state is spending that money. You say that we will give you free electricity, but somebody has to pay the people who are making that electricity, salaries of the people, etc., has to be paid for. So who will provide for the resources? That is an issue. On one hand, it leads to fiscal stress, it affects the finances of the government. And on the other hand, from speaking from the unethicality point of view, on the other hand, the government may come, they may offer the promises and they may go. But the burden will still remain. The loans, the extra expenditure that has been made, this still has to be paid off. So it puts pressure on the fiscal resources of the government. Political parties will come and go. They are in government, the next party will come, the next party will give an offer. But subsequently, the burden is still increasing. Fiscal burden is still increasing. So this is not a good thing. Right? I'm just talking about the negatives right now. So this is not a good thing actually. Okay. So this is there. Now the government is spending more than what it is earning. So spending is much more as compared to the earning. I mean, if they have to compensate for the for the extra expenditure that has been made, they have to increase the taxes. Now, increasing the taxes is not a popular thing to be done. So they borrow money. Now, see what happens because of this. This is my budget video. So see what is the government has been borrowing money. So as part of this thing, budget, if you look at the budget overall, you see the amount of interest payment that is going every year. So 9,40,651 crore. Obviously, you borrowed money from banks or some other institutions. You are giving them interest money. This is just the interest money, not the principal. So this is 3 times more than defense. This is 9 times more than education, but more than 9 times actually. Saying whatever subsidy has been given, it is much, much more than that. This money is just going out of the government's kitty. Okay, so these are non-sustainable. And look at, we can get the facts with reference to the food subsidy also. So 2,06,831 crore fertilizer subsidy. Then we have, I think health budget also, so health subsidy. So these are the subsidy burdens of the government. So these are humongous. These are very, very huge. And mind you, when anybody is borrowing money, imagine yourself borrowing money. So people tend to borrow money and buy those things that lead to creation of an asset. For example, I will borrow money, huge amount of money to buy a house or start a factory, start an enterprise. The idea is that when I make an investment, I should earn revenue out of it. Or that thing, for example, housing, if I buy a house, that value of the house appreciates. Tomorrow I can sell it and I will get a better value. But when the government is borrowing money and giving money on the giving money for the freebies, then no additional asset is being created. So no capital creation is being done. So this is also not a sustainable thing. So, we call this as the revenue expenditure. So the government's revenue expenditure is going up as against capital expenditure. We need to increase the capital expenditure so as to make the economy more productive. So that is not taking place. Okay, so these are all about the shortcomings. The power cuts that you're having. So one of the reason is the power subsidies that have been going on for very long, and about each state almost has 2 lakh crores, 4 lakh crores of payments that are yet to be done. They are working on debt. So naturally, they don't have money to pay to the power generators, and they are not having the money to improve the infrastructure for delivering of the power, and therefore you have power cuts. Okay, so that is one dimension of things. That is one dimension. Other dimension is freebies in totality. I mean, freebies, assessment of the freebies as such. Giving rations, giving rations at 1 rupee, 2 rupees, when that is done, it is helping the poorest of the poor. It is helping the poorest of the poor, and because of that, they are able to address the issue of hunger. Sometimes we can say that the state has actually failed them in providing employment or a good quality of life. Remember, India is a welfare state, so it has not been able to do welfare. So the least they can do is provide them food. That is the basic necessity that has to be done. So even though the Prime Minister criticizes the Revdi culture, others, as part of the midday meal giving Revdi, but at the same time, his government's own Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana provided food security to the people during the pandemic times, and it is still continuing. So it is actually helping. Same could be said with reference to the farmers. So the farmers are getting money steady, I mean, not really steady, but they're getting assured income via the minimum support price. Fine, so it is helping. Midday meal scheme is, one may classify free midday meal scheme as freebies, but midday meal, that is people getting cooked food in the school, children getting cooked food. So it is leading to better diet, better quality of life, and also better attendance. So these are actually good thing. Narega again, I mean Narega, the people who enroll are the poorest of the poor. So they don't even have the agriculture area. So them getting assured work, when I mean they're getting some food for work or pay for work kind of a initiative. So that is actually not a bad thing. It's required. Power subsidy or free power. So free power also implies that everybody has the right to get power. So everybody will have a metered connection. And it is only for the first 300 units, whatever 300, 200 units, and beyond that it is actually payable. So that makes sense. In that sense, it makes sense. So to government to say, or the petition to come in the Supreme Court that from now on no freebies would be announced, that would be total irrational thing. That would also not be a right approach over here. Besides the author, this becomes a bit too emotional, actually, emotional writing. But there is one more thing, that the corporate loan waivers, for example, in today's newspaper only, the banks have written off 9.1 lakh crores, 9.1 lakh crores of loan in this year. So this is nowhere near to the food subsidy or fertilizer subsidy. Anything actually, defense also, if you club together, then you will get 9 lakh something crores. Then the tax foregone, tax concessions that are given to the corporate, it is also more. So around rupees 1 crore, 1 lakh crore is the revenue foregone as a result of the major tax incentives. So we sideline those aspects also, so those also have to be looked into. Okay, so this is it. Turning point in crypto regulation led by Europe. I'm not doing this. Remember, my philosophy is very simple. One, this thing, and you're done with it. So right now, I'm not doing this. This thing is important, seems to be important. I'm not doing. I mean, it is telling us about Antarctica activities, recalling India's Antarctica activities. So one thing is obviously can be in pre also. So we can do the separately Antarctic activities in pre. Uh, Number of times we have having this Antarctica treaty is coming in the news. So I feel we should be ready from a mains perspective on this particular topic. It's repeatedly coming in the news on some ground or the other. Uh, this is forest cover. Okay, so very interesting. So see, in India, the northeast over here. So northeast is heavily forested. But what we are seeing is that the forest cover is falling in the northeast, all the states. So you don't really have to get worried about the data. So whichever state has more area, so their deforestation is more. Naturally, it's logical, right? Okay, so it has come down. Now, what could be the reason of deforestation taking place? I think that is what is important assessment, and that has to be developmental activities. So that is one thing. Next is, what are the implications of the deforestation? Then we come into the GS1 and GS3 territory. Okay. Yeah, so I quoted this 9.91 lakh back loan write-offs from here, environment cases. So all the data is available over here. The government package to revive PSNL, this thing, has bail under PMLA become near impossible. Fine, so this is an assessment of the recent amendments that has been made to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and Enforcement Directorate being given greater powers. So recently, Supreme Court was hearing, the case was going on known as Vijay Mandal Chaudhary versus Union of India. So it gave approval to Section 45(1) of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. So what does this say? So it says, see, many times we don't have to read the entire thing. So see, it says that if a person files a bail application, this may be approved. This may be approved by the court if the court is convinced or the court is satisfied that the accused is not guilty. Now, if the court is, I find this very illogical. If the court feels it is not guilty, then the statement, because then might as well set that person free, right? Why have it on the bail also? Okay, so one is that they have this thing, they are satisfied that the person is not guilty, and at the same time, when on bail, then at that time, that thing should be there that when a person is outside, will not tamper with the evidence. So this goes against the principle of presumption of innocence. So this Indian jurisprudence, tradition is, for majority of the cases, most of the cases, it seems that a person is guilty in a trial when a trial is going on. So a person is guilty only when proven guilty, right? When a person has been proven guilty, only in that circumstances, a person would be presumed guilty. Otherwise, a person is presumed innocent. So innocent till proven guilty. Okay, next article is tokenism. Not important. Some things we do like a token, this thing as a gesture. That is basically tokenism. Political parties having a Muslim face, Hindu dominant party having a Muslim face, or some from other person. So that is basically tokenism. Right, it could be for any other activity. Me making a gesture that I am helping the charity, but that's just nothing actually. I could have done much more than that. That's just a token act. Central officials monitoring impact of Zawahiri. Right, fine. So Zawahiri is credited with the formation of the Al-Qaeda. He was from Egypt and he moved to Afghanistan eventually. Right. Now his Al-Qaeda was based on the premise, Al-Qaeda has various branches across the country, across the world. So in Asia, in Southeast Asia, it has these branches. So it doesn't have direct control. It is kind of a franchise model. So people over here, they take whatever actions they have to take, like militant actions they take, and they say that Al-Qaeda has committed. So franchise model, somebody else is operating, but under the name of Al-Qaeda. You would have seen McDonald's franchise, KFC franchise. So owner is somebody else, but brand name is used. So let's see, he was the face, he was a very important person. So quite likely that the Al-Qaeda thing will come down because of this. So let's see. Okay, I think I missed one editorial. Yeah. So this editorial, if you look closely, Zawahiri's killing is more important for its implications for the Doha Agreement. So this is telling us about Zawahiri, same thing. The other thing is that Doha Agreement. So Doha Agreement actually took place between Taliban and the United States of America when the US was stationed in Afghanistan. So arrangement was this, that once the US goes, once the US goes, US will go and exit Afghanistan, and but Taliban has to assure that Taliban will leave these terror activities. They will not use Afghanistan for terror-related acts. That will not take place. So there was this peace talk that took place between US and Taliban. These are known as Doha Agreement. Now, what US has done with this Zawahiri killing, so Zawahiri was stationed in Kabul. It's said that he was in Pakistan, then from here he moved to Kabul. From 1 year, US was observing him. So he was in Kabul. So without having troops on ground in Afghanistan, US using its drone striked his house. So they have done this over the horizon, beyond what can be seen. They have been able to make a strike in Afghanistan. So over the horizon strikes, they are able to commit. Obviously, Doha Agreement, I don't even find it relevant actually, since Taliban never took this seriously. It was just a way for US to exit. So Zawahiri's killing is more important for its implication for the Doha Agreement. Right, so this is it. I just wanted to introduce you to what is a Doha Agreement. I hope you're doing this quizzes. This will help you with your pre. May help you with your pre. Okay, so where are we? India is highest priority. So Maldives, obviously Maldives president was in India, and they will sign a series of things. It's very typical. The cyber security pact, this pact, education, science and tech, some pact or the other will take place. The important one is, and which we did yesterday also, is India giving a line of credit and grant for the Greater Malay connectivity project that would include 6.74 kilometer bridge. Right, so this is it. India's highest priority, so that means basically comparing it with China. So India will be given a preference. Supreme Court quashes Jharkhand's 100% local reservation. Fine. So this Jharkhand state, the tribal population is there. So according to the fifth schedule, there are some scheduled areas which are tribal dominated and have greater autonomy. So areas having greater autonomy, areas that are reserved for the tribals, scheduled areas, listed areas. So the Jharkhand government had made a decision in 2016 that they will grant 100% local reservation to the people of the scheduled areas. Right, so 100% reservation in teaching actually, so in education. So 100% jobs would be reserved for this, for the locals. So the High Court has termed this move impermissible. You can't have 100% reservation. And Supreme Court has also cancelled the 100% local reservation. It's gone with the judgment of the High Court. Oh, good. Okay, so these are the articles that are there. Article 14, equality. Article 16 is reservation in public jobs, opportunities in public jobs. So 14, 16, and 35 of the Constitution of India. Visit Amarnath before August 5, fine. Modi government renews push to hold dialogue with Muslims. Enforcement directed again in news. Lok Sabha says war of words on farm loans. Okay. Yeah, from Cairo to the top of Al Qaeda. This is basically it's a story of this thing. I was interested in it, so I read it. Otherwise, it's not important. Right. I think we are done with this news. Now moving on to the business section. Trade deficit soared past $31 billion in July. Right. So trade deficit means the deficit between exports and imports. So when there is more import, the value of import is more than the export, then we get the trade deficit. So naturally, trade deficit is always there in a country, but it is increasing. The exports are not growing. So in fact, it has actually come down, export of goods, but the import has gone up. And this is not something new. In last couple of months, we are having couple of news like this, these topics over here. So lower commodity prices should temper the trade deficit going ahead. So commodities, things like fuel, etc., are commodities. I think yesterday also I told you that most likely reason for this import bill to increase is, would be the appreciation of the dollar. So fuel is increasing plus the dollar is appreciating as against the rupee. Jobless rate slips to 6.8%, a 6-month low. Believe me, if there was a different opposition today, they would have made a lot of hue and cry over this. BJP, if they were in the opposition. When we were preparing, 2 to 3% was considered bad. 2 to 3% of unemployment. And ever since, I think 2018, I made a video, first video on our channel, that was an unemployment that was at 6%, 6.4%. That was very steep, right? Multiple times of this. Then it was at 7.8% in June, and presently it has come down a bit to 6.8%, but 6.8 is basically 7%. That's not a good sign for the economy. We need to create more and more of these jobs. Right, so this basically concludes. We're done with this thing. Next, we have the sports section. So this is it. Bye bye, take care, and all the best.